The only thing better than a hot girl is a hot girl with a tragic past. I have a bunch of things to look forward to in the new year, but one of them is the selection of new books that are being released in 2023. I also feel like a lot of people make New Year's resolutions to read more because we have this illusion of a new slate every time a new year approaches. So even though I'm sharing my personal top 10 anticipated books, hopefully you'll find at least one that you might be excited for in the new year. You know another good habit that you should pick up in the new year besides reading? Protecting yourself on the internet with VPN services. Most notably, NordVPN, which is a sponsor of today's video. I've been using them for over 2 years now. It has been so easy for me to use because I literally just use one click and I have already completely changed my IP address, put myself in a different country. And the reason why I do this is because a lot of times when I'm traveling, I might not have access to certain content because they're not available in a specific country. So I just change my IP address to make it look like I'm in the United States or whatever other country that the specific content that I'm watching on Netflix or HBO Max or whatever is available in. They have over 1,500 servers in 59 countries and they have amazing speed. I have never had any issue with it being slow whenever I've used it. It's actually confirmed by the speed test that NordVPN is the fastest one out there. So if you want to start off the new year with a great deal, you can get an exclusive NordVPN deal with my link in the description below. You can get a discount with NordVPN plus 4 additional months for free. And if you're not into it for whatever reason, they have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So it is totally risk-free. Check it out if you're interested. Otherwise, let's go ahead and check out new books that are coming out in the new year. I'm gonna be talking about these books in chronological order of their release date. So starting off with a book that's gonna be released on Valentine's Day. It is called The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. The story sounds as atmospheric and gothic like the beautiful cover shows, and it sounds like it has a lot of drama, which your girl loves. We got marriages that have dark secrets, we got friendships that are allegedly gonna end in tragedy, and we got the gothic vibes for all the spooky bitches out there. It's about a man who marries this mysterious, beautiful woman who's an heiress to a fortune. They seem to be madly in love, but when they got together, the woman makes him promise her that he will never pry into her past. She was like, the bitch that I was 10 years ago, we don't know her. But then one day, this woman finds out that her estranged aunt is dying. They have to go to her childhood home, which is called the House of Dreams. It's this extravagant manor, but of course, because this is a gothic story, it's actually crumbling. The halls are musty. There's some weird girl that shows up who turns out to be the main girl's childhood friend who was supposed to have disappeared a while back. So the house starts to slowly reveal the wife's secrets, and then the guy is like, this is kind of sus. Perhaps I should be worried for my marriage or even my life. I'm very much looking forward to finding out what secrets and sketchy shit is going on in that house and in that woman's life. It sounds like she's been up to some bad shit, and I always support women's wrongs. The next book comes out on April 4th, and it is a memoir called A Living Remedy. A couple years back, the author wrote her first memoir, which was about her experience as a Korean American woman who was adopted by a white family. I haven't read that memoir yet, but I'm gonna check out this one, and if I like it, I'll check out her other one. This one in particular is about how she lost her adopted parents to a broken healthcare system. What I appreciate about this book is that it sounds like it doesn't just deal with grief, but also points out the inequality of class for a lot of Americans who are dealing with health issues. Her dad died when he was 67 due to diabetes and kidney disease, and not only did she feel a lot of grief, she also felt a lot of anger because she knew that if it weren't for their financial instability and lack of access to healthcare, they could have prevented or at least postponed his premature death. And then less than a year later, her mom gets diagnosed with cancer. I think around that time, COVID just strikes the entire world. So this girl has been going through it. This is probably the kind of book that will make me super depressed and angry at the state of the world. But I mean, I'm usually that way anyway, so what else is new? At least I can feel seen watching another Asian woman going through it. And I'm always a sucker for memoirs, so I'm pretty sure that I'll end up liking this one too. On a lighter note, there is a romance book that comes out on May 2nd called Practice Makes Perfect. I am picking this one up solely for the fanfiction vibes because it is about a flower shop girl and a tattooed bad boy and a friends to lovers romance, which is the best kind of romance in my opinion. The only way it would have actually been perfect perfect for me is if the flower shop owner was the guy and the tattooed person was the girl. But it's okay, baby steps. It's about this girl who lives in Kentucky, owns a flower shop, has a very quiet life, but she's struggling with finding that perfect match for her. She even overheard a date describe her as boring, which is a pretty rough thing to hear because straight men are usually the most boring people to exist. So if he calls you boring, that's a low blow. So she's wondering how can she become more fun and flirtatious, and she decides to do something that only fictional characters ever do and not people in real life. She decides to find someone who will teach her how to be that person, and that's gonna be the tattooed bad boy in this book. He works as a bodyguard, and I just gotta say, this is a missed opportunity here. I could have gotten a bodyguard romance where he was her bodyguard, but instead he's her tutor to try to make her more fun. Whatever, we'll go with it anyway for the fanfic vibes. This is a guy that has been friends with her for a while. He returns to their hometown, and he has this rule where he wants to stay away from this girl. We don't know why, but I have to assume or hope maybe it's because he's harboring all these feelings for her that he must secretly stow away and pine. And he doesn't want any part in changing her, but he finds it very hard to say no to her. So he agrees to teach her to have to be a more eligible bachelorette. There's also the trope of fake dating at some point because they have to pretend to be in a relationship so that the nosy town that they live in doesn't figure out why they're having all these practice dates. Again, shit that wouldn't really happen in real life, but we are not here for reality. We are here for escapism and tropes. When we do want reality though, that is where the next book called Yellowface, that is also being released on May 16, might come into handy. The title makes it pretty obvious that the book is going to be about cultural appropriation and white privilege. It's about two authors who come from Yale. They were friends, but then one day, one of the friends, who happens to be Asian, passes away. We don't know how she passed away yet, other than the fact that it was a freak accident that the white girl happened to have witnessed. Usually I would freak the fuck out if I saw someone die, but this girl goes ahead and steals the almost finished manuscript that the Asian girl had written. There's some cognitive dissonance going on where the white girl is like, no, this story needs to be told. That's why I have to do this for her. It's a story about Chinese laborers during World War I. That's clearly a story that I need to tell. I'm just gonna ignore the fact that my dead friend has gotten all these book deals while I haven't. It's definitely not related to that. So not only does she edit the work as her own, she rebrands herself with a whole new pseudonym that sounds like an Asian woman. She has a new author photo that is ambiguously ethnic. Obviously some shit is gonna go down in this book, so I'm looking forward to the metaphorical car crash that's gonna inevitably occur, because I'm pretty sure she's gonna do a lot of things to try to keep this secret under wraps, especially when she believes that she deserves this success even though she stole it. I think it'll be a really interesting discussion for who deserves to tell what stories. It reminds me of a lot of discourse regarding representation and own voices and whether white authors are allowed to tell stories about people of color. I hope that this book will provide some nuance and interesting discussions. Speaking of dead bitches, the next book that I am anticipating on reading comes out on May 16 and it's called All the Dead Lie Down. This is a contemporary young adult gothic romance. It features a young girl who has recently faced a tragedy that has left her pretty much alone, but then she receives an invitation for a nanny position from a famous horror author and childhood friend of her dead mother. When she accepts the position to be a nanny and she looks after the little girls, she finds out that these little girls are fucking weird. One girl buries her dolls and hosts funerals for them. And I realize it's hypocritical for me to say that's weird because that's exactly what I did on The Sims. In my defense, I never had a nanny, but if I did, I would have never pulled pranks on her. I would have never put dead birds in her room. I wouldn't be living in a house near the woods where mutilated animals are discovered. Compared to that shit, my childhood was pretty tame. What's even stranger is that the eldest daughter suddenly returns home. Now this is where things might turn sapphic, because even though the eldest daughter is kind of weird herself, the main girl can't help but feel drawn to her. Now I can't say for certain because I haven't read this book, but that sounds a little bit gay to me. So I am definitely here for the spooky vibes and perhaps the gay vibes. Speaking of gay bitches, the #1 book that I am most excited to read about next year is one that comes out on May 30 and is called Lesbian Love Story. This is a nonfiction book written by an author who moved to Brooklyn and found all these queer stories wherever she went. But she noticed that a lot of these stories rarely ever feature lesbians. So the book is about her journey trying to recover cover the stories of lesbians in the 20th century. She does a deep dive about these lesbians from history, who they were, who they loved, why their stories weren't told, and where their memories can live on instead. There are 7 love stories that are featured in this book. Some of them are about drag kings in Bushwick. Some others are about activists in Harlem. I love how it's so unabashedly New York and so unabashedly women-loving women. Side note, the best show I watched this year was A League of Their Own on Amazon Prime. There was this montage scene that made me cry in one of the last few episodes, and it's a scene where you see several sapphic couples dancing together in this hidden bar. And it made me tear up because even though it was a fictional historical story, I saw the reality in it, which is that there were so many lesbians and queer people who existed back then, but we never knew about it because those stories aren't told. And it was just so beautiful to see them celebrating their love, and it got me so emotional that I just know I'm gonna feel moved by reading this book, and I'm gonna feel very similarly. All right, we're getting too gay here, so let's reel it back into being straight. Coming out on June 13, we have Love Theoretically, which is another book that was originally fanfiction of Kylo Ren and Rey from Star Wars, but now is being published with different character names, and it's not all the same because this time the main guy is blonde instead of black-haired. But I will bet my entire life savings that this man is still gonna be tall and white as hell. This is the 3rd book coming out by Ali Hazelwood, and I don't care what you critics have to say, Ali is my bitch. Her books are heteronormative crack for me, and I will be reading every single one. I'm not even in the Star Wars fandom. I'm pretty sure if I were, I wouldn't be shipping Reylo, but with these books in particular, I feel like they're enjoyable on their own. But you gotta be in the same mindset as this author where you just unabashedly embrace all the tropes. I know I'm always gonna enjoy her books because she's always gonna have big, sturdy men pining for the girl, even if she does nothing. And I'm into that because I wanna do absolutely nothing but be fucking adored anyway. I don't even care what the book is about, but if you are curious, it is another rival situation. The main girl is living 2 lives because by day, she is a professor who is working super hard to get her tenure, and by other days, she is working a side hustle, which is offering her services as a fake girlfriend. She's really good at embodying whatever her client needs in a girlfriend, which is a skill that a lot of people pleasers have. Where she runs into trouble though is that her favorite client happens to have an older brother that is the main lead of this book. He is broody and annoyingly attractive, of course, and he is her rival because apparently a while back he ruined her mentor's career. So he has this reputation of being cold-hearted and just not the kind of person that you would want to be responsible for your fate, but unfortunately he is sitting on the hiring committee of MIT. I'm looking forward to the tea for why he sabotaged her mentor's career. We all know it's gonna turn out he's actually a good guy after all, and he's been secretly pining for the main girl the entire time. I'm gonna predict everything and I'm gonna eat that shit up anyway. The next book on my list is another author who I really like. This is a book coming out on June 27 and it's called The Invocations. This author was the same one who wrote House of Hollow, which I read in 2022 and I absolutely loved. The main girl of this book is grieving because her sister was murdered by a serial killer, and because grief can make you do weird shit sometimes, she decides to join a cult in order to bring her sister back from the dead. The other main girl of this book is the daughter of a billionaire, and while I would normally try to eat the rich, this girl seems to be going through it. She made a deal with a demon that went wrong, so now she's cursed by things like having monsters taunt her at night and dead flowers and insects following her wherever she goes, which are exactly the kind of vibes that I loved in House of Hollow. She's pretty sure that she's gonna die really soon, so she's very desperate for a solution. So this is where the third girl enters both of the first two girls' lives. She's the daughter of a witch, and she sells spells to women to solve their problems in exchange for them giving away a little piece of their soul to her. But something sketchy is going on because her previous clients have been getting murdered one by one. Don't know what that is all about, but that is why you should leave reviews and star ratings whenever you buy a service from someone. The book is about the girls teaming up to catch the killer before they are next. I have no idea what to expect for this book, and that's what makes it so fun. The next book on my list comes from another author who I've enjoyed before. The book is called Family Lore and it's being released on August 1st. This is Elizabeth Acevedo's first adult novel. I've read her previous young adult books. They were all good, but because it was young adult contemporary, it was like a little little bit too young for my taste. That's why I'm looking more forward to her adult debut. The main character is a woman who has a gift for predicting when someone will die. So she decides to have a living wake for herself and invites her three sisters. Her three sisters are like, wait, that's kind of weird. Does this mean that she's seen her own death? Or does this mean that she's seen someone else's death? They don't know because the main girl refuses to tell them. But the rest of the family has their own secrets as well, because one of the sisters is trying to cover up her husband's infidelity. One of the cousins is trying to reunite with her first love who was imprisoned when they were kids. It sounds like there's gonna be a lot of drama going on, both within the family and in all these women's individual lives. I love that this is specifically focused on the women in a family, whether that's sisters and cousins or aunts and nieces. I love women-centric stories, and I already know this author is a strong writer, so I am pretty positive that it's gonna turn out great. And then the last book on my list comes out on September 12th, and it is a young adult sapphic fantasy graphic novel. The cover itself already intrigues my interest, specifically the woman on the top of the book cover. She looks hot as hell, but the synopsis really just reeled me in. It's about a princess whose kingdom has been in shambles because it's been ravaged by pirates, so the only option for her to save the kingdom is through a marriage alliance. She gets an offer from the royalty of this other country that has been known to be shrouded in mystery, but she doesn't really have time to question what the true intentions are or what's really going on. She's so desperate that she goes ahead and accepts it anyway and moves over to the new country to start a new life. But then she finds out that the person she's marrying isn't the country's prince, but actually a queen. That is the hot bitch on the cover right there. And of course, because she finds out she's being married to a hottie, all of a sudden she has all these complex feelings. She's like, oh my gosh, what are all these new strange feelings I've never had before in my heteronormative life? But she notices that the queen has such sad eyes and that there's something dark going on that she doesn't know about. The only thing better than a hot girl is a hot girl with a tragic past. We have political drama, we have sapphic bitches. The only problem that we have is that this book is gonna be released so far off into the year, but when it comes out in September, I will be there to read it. That wraps up the 10 books that I'm excited about. Let me know if any of these books excite you, or if you have a book that isn't on this list that you're excited about. Go ahead and unsubscribe from my channel. Otherwise, I'll see you in the new year. Bye. I got it.